Something happened on Smackdown that is a bit of a reach, but some fans think it could be a hint as well. We'll also check out what's happening with Chelsea Green, Jade Cargill, and more. Starting things off with the latest for the men's War Games match, and how it could be hinting at another ongoing storyline on SmackDown. SmackDown opened with Team Vision minus Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, cutting a promo in the ring about their plans at Survivor Series and what they're aiming to do. Jimmy and Jay eventually make their way out and tease that they brought some backup with them too. Cody Rhodes' music plays, but he doesn't come out through the curtains. That's when the camera cuts to show Drew McIntyre leaving Cody's tour bus, with a laid out Cody Rhodes hanging out of the entrance to the bus. Everyone tries helping Cody, and that's when Drew McIntyre mocks them and drives by. So what exactly does this segment tells us and hint at? Well, with Drew McIntyre still technically suspended in-universe from SmackDown, it's a creative way for Drew to still appear on SmackDown programming and take part in the storyline without technically stepping foot into the SmackDown arena, which he is still suspended from. So it was a way to still feature him on the show without violating that suspension. And it's also a way of continuing Cody and Drew's feud with each other within the overall War Games storyline. Reports did claim this week that Cody and Drew will continue their feud over the undisputed title following Survivor Series. So this bus attack was a way to keep their personal feud progressing within the world of the War Games match. So that attack accomplished that as well. But what this attack also showed us and hinted at was that Drew McIntyre sure does know how to deliver a pretty brutal backstage attack. And that's a significant piece of information right now, because there's still an ongoing situation happening right now with the mysterious attack on Jacob. The information on Jacob's attack is still very bare bones. All we know is that someone brutally attacked him backstage. Someone that was strong enough to throw all this backstage equipment on him and literally knock his teeth out. There's no solid teasers or hints about the details behind Jacob's attack. The company hasn't provided much of anything to really go by for when it comes to discovering who did the attack. All we can do for the moment is guess, and the top suspects all these weeks later still remains to be Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. The suspect list hasn't been updated much lately because not much advancements has been made to the story there at all. Everyone is still equally suspicious for when it comes to the attack on Jacob, but this moment here between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes on November 21st at least confirms to us that Drew McIntyre sure knows how to deliver a pretty heavy backstage hit, and deliver it perfectly. Although it's not solid confirmation at all that Drew is guilty of what happened to Jacob, it still doesn't exactly help Drew's case here with the Jacob situation. If anything, this perfect backstage attack he just pulled off on Cody Rhodes this week does at least make you feel that he is more than capable of being the Jacob backstage attacker after all. If he did that to Cody, who's to say that he didn't do something similar to Jacob all those weeks ago when Jacob first went down? So we may not be seeing direct advancement to the Jacob attacker storyline at the moment, but what Drew did to Cody there in the bus does make it seem like they at least want you to consider and think about Drew potentially being the attacker, even with this hint and teaser of Drew executing perfect backstage attacks. Do we still think he was the Jacob attacker? We're gonna still go with no, only because it seems too easy and obvious. This is a scripted show after all, so they love drama elements, they love twists, and Drew McIntyre being revealed as the Jacob attacker will fall pretty flat there because there's no shock value at all. He's the top heel suspect, so that really wouldn't be much of a reveal. And if there's one thing we've learned about this current regime over the last few years, is that they absolutely love big shocking moments that catch you off guard. There may not be a long-term plan in place for where the shock is headed, but at least within that initial instance, they sure do know how to generate these big shock value moments. So that what makes us still lean away from Drew as the attacker, even through all these subtle hints and indirect teasers that they're putting out. Something about Drew being revealed as the attacker still feels flat, so it just feels like that's not the direction they're actually going in. So that still leaves Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, and either of those two still seems more likely than Drew McIntyre. Fans have been obsessive over a Cody Rhodes heel turn lately, and even though Cody has had a few questionable behavior moments in recent memory, it still doesn't really feel like they'll turn him heel with the Jacob situation. It still feels like we're a while away from seeing a heel Cody, but then again, they do love their shocking twists, so you can never be too sure. Randy Orton as the attacker does seem to still be the most realistic and logical option amongst the three top suspects. Randy being revealed as the attacker will certainly check off the entire list for when it comes to shocking twists. That could be the eye-opening and shocking reveal that they're after, so Randy does seem to be most realistic because of those points there. It brings Randy back to television with a massive role right away, and with a purpose, but it still seems like it's way too early in the Jacob story right now for a reveal. We should definitely get more clues once Jacob gets closer to returning. Jacob is rumored for an early 2026 return, so it's possible that we won't see the real payoff for the attacker storyline until early next year. Ever since Jade Cargill won the women's title, the biggest question fans had was in regard to Jade's first feud and opponent. Everyone was curious to see what they came up with for her, because the world title picture in the Smackdown women's division still remains as a ghost town. We saw Jade Cargill have a squash match with B-Fab, but B-Fab still technically wasn't Jade's first real feud, so who is it going to be after all from this depleted division? Well, it looks like that answer for Jade's first real feud has been potentially answered, and it's someone that fans weren't really expecting. And that's Chelsea Green. Usually mid-card titles and the world titles are kept away from each other and are off doing completely separate things, different feuds and different stories, and they don't really cross paths with each other. But it looks like the SmackDown women's division is hurting so much right now that they don't have much of a choice. Chelsea Green is pretty much the biggest name for Jade Cargill to go after right now on SmackDown. It wasn't a one-time interaction. They've shown Chelsea and Jade interacting with each other for multiple weeks in a row. Their most recent moment of these interactions came on November 21st, when Chelsea Green referred to herself as the greatest women's champion, which Jade overheard and came over to confront Chelsea about. So Jade's title reign has been a little directionless so far, but with all these consecutive interactions with Chelsea Green, it has fans wondering if a champion versus champion match could be on the way. Could they potentially do Jade Cargill versus Chelsea Green, with both titles being on the line? It sounds like a horrific idea, because everyone knows that title unifications sound cool at first, but then they have no idea how to take one title off of the double champion, and then things get messy and just start spiraling after that. So not much of anything good has happened from title unifications, especially recently, like when Roman unified the world titles a few years back, and they didn't really know how to handle that situation and just created a new separate world title instead. That's why title unifications are a bit iffy, but that's what they appear to be teasing here, so we gotta talk about it and at least consider it. They're really having Jade and Chelsea go back and forth about who's the greatest women's champion, so it does sound like they're setting up the foundation of some type of champion versus champion match. Obviously Jade Cargill is not losing anytime soon, so if a title unification match takes place, it seems like Jade would win that hypothetical matchup and would capture the women's United States title as her second championship. There's no word or reports on them going in this direction, but at least with what we're seeing on SmackDown, it surprisingly enough seems like something that's being lightly hinted at. So is Jade Cargill about to capture a second title, or will they keep it as a non-title match? Have to be on the lookout for that.
But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.